Hey gang, Marc LeBlanc welcoming you back to the Alley Cat Workshop, where in the past couple of weeks, a number of significant upgrades have come up. And my goal in this video is to talk you through some of these upgrades and make some recommendations. So let's get started. So we begin not next to my dust collector, but next to my power panel, because everything that happened in terms of upgrades deals with electricity in my shop. And my first recommendation, and this is the one that I followed, is if you need to do electrical work in your shop and you're considering some of these upgrades that I've made, please hire a certified electrician unless you yourself has the necessary competencies to accomplish the work. You're dealing with something that can kill you, so be careful. All right, so the first major upgrade, and this is a big one, and certainly the most visible one, is I upgraded all the lights to from neons, which you see the tubes, the old tubes are hanging over there in the corner of my shop, to Dell lights. And the brightness is incredible compared to what I had before. So these strips aren't very expensive. I had 6 of them installed, and it has really improved the lighting in the shop. These strips are, I think some of them are 4,000 lumen and the others are 5,000. I can't tell you which ones are which, but certainly I'm getting more than enough light in the shop. In the daytime, it's visible, but at night, believe me, it is incredible. So this is my jointer. This is the first tool that I had that worked on 220 volt power. And it came with an extension, and the extension you can see right there on the floor, that's the yellow head. That's the female end of the extension. And it goes behind the jointer and behind a couple of dust ports and behind the Aneda Super Deputy, and eventually makes its way over to a wall plug. So that works out quite fine. However, when I wanted to use my new lathe, then I had to unplug said extension, fish it out from behind all these tools, and then start doing things in reverse. For example, going behind the stairs and eventually making its way over to the lathe. Well, that was both a pain in the ass and completely impractical. So you'll notice now that there is a dedicated plug for the lathe. It is on 220 power, so it's on its own circuit. I could literally have these two tools being used at the same time, and it would not be a problem. Now, even though that's not likely, I'm glad that it's actually done and that I've got dedicated power for each one of my tools. Because that simplifies things tremendously. Okay, so we're behind the dust collection system, and you might notice that there are a couple of red lines, red electrical wires that are being fished outside of the wall. One of them is going to the lathe. That's the one that's on the left over here. And the other two, well, where are they going? Well, let me walk you through it. So they go behind the dust deputy. They're actually tacked to the baseboard of the garage here, and eventually one of them makes its way over to my table saw. All right, you see that right there. And the other one, let me get the tripod out of the way. The other one goes to my bandsaw. Let me show you that. Right over here on the wall. So I converted my bandsaw and my table saw to from 110 volts to 220 volt, and I'll walk you through quickly how that works, but this was well worth it. It's going to use up less electricity, but it's going to certainly use up the power of the motors a lot better. So let me walk you through it. This is the owner's manual for the Rikon bandsaw. And it shows you on page, what page number? Page 23 right here. It shows you how to rewire the bandsaw for 220 power. So this is how it comes out of the box. You've got the plug comes in, part of the wiring goes to a light socket, and then there is a switch that you don't need to touch here, and the wires go eventually to the motor housing, and the motor housing has a blue and brown wire connected together and a black and white wire connected together. Pretty simple. For 220, a couple of things need to happen. You need to, while filming, I forgot to mention, you do need to change the plug. It's a special plug for 220 power. Let's carry on. Condemn the wires that go to the light switch. It can no longer be used. And frankly, it's not a big loss because, like I said, I've got more than enough light in the shop right now to be able to work it. And the change that you do is that you plug in the blue and the white together and the brown and the black together. Overall, very simple. Now let me show you where you do these changes. So even though the light switch is behind the bandsaw, where you do the changes actually happens over here on the switch. So you need to remove the screws here on the switch, and all the wires will be exposed, and you'll be able to make that connection, or to break the connection to the light switch. Behind the bandsaw is the panel right over here with all of the electrical connections. So you need to remove these 4 screws. All the wires will be exposed, and you'll be able to make the changes. I'm not going to open or show you what that looks like. Again, get an electrician to do this work unless you are yourself qualified and certified. So for the table saw, it's a little bit more complicated and certainly a lot more expensive, because what you need to do is you need to replace the out-of-the-box contactor box. This is what it looks like. This is for 110 to 120 volt power. You need to replace that with one that's for 208 to 240 volt power. And you need to buy that from SawStop. Now, I'm going to keep this because whenever I do sell my table saw, somebody might want to retrofit this back to 110 power, which works fine. So there's here are the wires that will eventually make it to the motor. And this is a switch that makes it to, you know, the switch where you have the box where you have the keys and the actually on-off switch for the table saw. This actually goes in there. There's a video out there. If you do a search on YouTube for upgrading SawStop to 220 power, you'll see a video that actually walks you through the steps. I'm not going to do that here because, again, I didn't do it. I had an electrician do the job. What happens, though, is the following. So in the instructions, there is a wiring diagram for 110 power. This is what it comes out of the box. And there's the same wiring diagram or similar wiring diagram for 220 volt. And the connection is actually really, really quite simple. So if I take this guy back, right, the wire, the green is the ground. So the green is ground. That's going to be the same thing whether it's 110 or 220 power. In the 110 power, you've got yellow, red, and white together. So the white, this guy right here, gets mated with the red and the yellow, and the white that comes out of the motor and the black gets mated to the black. When you go to 220 power, what you do is you go black and white together. Now the black and yellow from the motor goes together, and the red and white goes together. So those are the two big differences. The green, as I mentioned, goes to the ground as well. Now, why would you do this? It's, certainly using the horsepower of the engine a lot better. And the other thing too is it's going to let you save on electricity, which is always a good thing. What I like about the SawStop diagram, if I look, I've got SawStop here and I've got the Rikon over here. I'm sure you notice one big difference, and that's the color coding. SawStop's instructions, I can't say it enough, are really top-notch. And the fact that they actually have color diagrams really makes it even more useful to people or to everybody. So kudos to them. So that's it, guys. My 4 main tools in my shop are now on 220 volt power, big upgrade, all on dedicated circuits. So it means I don't need to fool around with any extensions ever again. I can just walk to any tool and make it work, and it's going to work smoothly and beautifully. Pretty big upgrades. I'm very happy, and I really recommend that you get this done in your shop if you have a similar setup. But again, the recommendation is please hire a certified electrician. You don't want to fool around with this type of stuff. This stuff, after all, could kill you. So that's it. Quick video. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please do that thumbs up thing and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Really appreciate you taking the time. Marc LeBlanc from the Alley Cat Workshop, signing off.